Again, good evening, sir. Coming to this the wet layer procedures, where we are discussing the method involves filling up the boiler with specially treated water, wherein the step is fill the boiler with the demineralized water containing trisodium phosphate to form protective iron phosphate layer to remove the moisture and all these things. Any accumulations are there, we have to be clear. If the after the adding of trisodium phosphate along with the demineralized water to protect iron phosphate layer, phosphate layer also to protect it by us. For that we have to add on oxygen scavenger like sodium sulfate to prevent corrosion of the iron phosphate layer. Because of these two steps are very important for the preservation of the boiler in less time, not like a longer time, like the 3 months as you discussed in the this thing. This is only preservation of boiler, keeping this some time to preserve and see that this should be taken care of. The 3 months that is more is required in the dry layup, whereas less time is required. You have to apply this wet layup procedure. It's very important. This can be done by adding a tried sodium phosphate to the demineralized water. In demineralized water, we have to add trisodium phosphate that is used to fill the boiler. The added phosphate will react with the surface of the steel of inside the tubes. This will produce an iron phosphate layer, as said here, several microns thick. That means the phosphate layers having the some layer to form on the inside the tube to prevent the corrosion because we have to preserve the boiler for some time. That's why the layer is important inside the boiler to prevent the corrosion. This will form a protective layer on the base of the material. That's what here say. Therefore, we have to, along with that DM water, we have to add trisodium phosphate with the demineralized water, send inside the tube. There it will added phosphate, that this phosphate will react with the surface of the steel inside the tube. This will produce a phosphate layer of several microns thick, means some thickness of the layer will be formed inside the tubes so that it will be act as a protective layer on the base material to prevent corrosion. It's a very important step in the wet lab procedure during the preservation of the boiler. What are the hazards, potential hazards associated with the preservation of the boiler when not in use? During the boiler preservation when not in use, potential hazards include corrosion, fuel explosions, carbon monoxide, toxicity, and the exposure to hazardous substances, necessitating proper storage and maintenance procedure to mitigate risk. Because the potential hazard is many are there. To discuss about the many, we have to see that how best we can protect by storage and maintenance procedure is important. Storage, matlab, once you take the steps to avoid the corrosion, to avoid the fuel explosion, to avoid the carbon monoxide use, to avoid the exposure to hazardous substances. Due to this, various steps are taken. The steps to be taken care in a systematic manner, in a maintenance procedure manner, to proper storage depends upon your attempting method is important. That is what you want to convey. Exposure to hazard substance, said proper storage, maintenance procedures to mitigate the risk. That means reduce the risk against the hazards. Ideal corrosion, no doubt, corrosion will be always there inside the tube, though that's why the uh, protective phosphate layer is there when it is a short shutdown. In the long shutdown, you have to use definitely a corrosion resistance methods will be taken care of. Boilers left unused can corrode more rapidly than when in use. Everybody knows. When it is used, no problem. When it is not in use, definitely it will be corrosion will be taken place, leading to general smooth wasting, pitting of shell or furnace. That means inside some corrosion having dents because of the eating the surface of the material inside the tube. That's called the pitting, where the dents are uh, 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 where, where the dents are there inside the tube or inside the shell or inside the furnace. And the grooving of stay bars or gaskets is important here is because the uh, smooth, that means you are not keeping much time is okay, but keeping much time, giving the dry layup procedure, definitely inside the tube boilers, definitely some pitting and some dents, some what is called the groovings will be always happen in the inside the tube. That should not be avoided. That's why it is called ideal corrosion. Somehow, that's why some of the industrialists, what they have done is, they are going to do is, when the long period is coming, they are taking dry layup. After, though the dry layup is there, they will be every 15 days draining the feed water, again washing this, and again seals are open, filling the water, and again cleaning. All these steps will be repeated within 15 days, every fortnightly, that 15 days. Therefore, it will be protected much what is called better than the worst, worst conditions. That's why 15 days we have to taken, though the resources are waste, but it should be taken care of. Water stagnation is also one of the important to create a corrosion. When all the steps are taken, even then, when dry up is there, natural cooling is there, dry up with the compressor air, even then some of the areas where the, for example, superheater coils where the only HP steam is there, where the draining is not there, the time that water stagnation may be taken care, will be accumulated in the superheater coils and other tube in the bottom lines also, where the some low areas also will be taken care of the water stagnation, that will be taken care of without having the any stagnation also. But that's why always dry up is important, and sunlight is also exposed to the furnace is very important. When a boiler is not used regularly, the water inside can stagnate and corrode the metal parts, leading to rust and seizing. Seizing means eating away the internal material, which can damage the boiler and make it difficult or impossible to start again. So therefore, we have to see and not to water stagnation inside the tube. That's why always dry up conditions will be there to taken care of. Even then, some of the areas in the low areas, in the corner areas, stagnation will be taken care of. That's why much time will not be taken. Preserve is advisable. That's why when the boiler is not used, water inside stagnated parts corrode the metal parts, leading to rust and seizing, which can damage the boiler and make it difficult or impossible to start again. The again starting time means giving some troubles, and having the teething troubles is more, and finally will not achieve the efficiency of the boiler, and the water stagnation is there more time during the preservation of the boiler. So we have to avoid that also. This is one of the safety potential hazards during the preservation of this. Fuel explosion is also taken care of. Leaking fuel, a defective valves also important. Where some of the vertical industries are not using the ISMS industrial steam material supplies. That's why they have to use the duplicate valves also. That giving the lot of troubles in defective valves also. Leaking fuel is also very important. Boiler fuel, either gas or oil or a coal or a biomass, whatever the boiler feed or boiler fuel, that she seem neglected, more prone to leakage in flammable gases, and the which serve cases can ignite the cause and explosion, because where the combustion is not properly taken care of by supplying the FD air through FD fan through primary and secondary, the combustion is not taken place. The coal is there, unburned carbon is there, the fuel is there, unburned fuel particles will carry over the flue gases, thereby creating lot of flammable natures, flammable gases also. It will create the furnace part is okay, but boiler, economizer, ESPs, other ductings will be got damaged if you allow any leakage of fuels is there. Defective valves is also one of the potential hazards during the preservation of the boilers. Leaking fuel, safety shut-off valves or other defective valves can allow gas to leak into boiler even when the boiler is not in operation, leading to a potential explosion when the boiler is turned to back on. While running, after the resuming of the preservation is completed, after resuming any such what is called the defective valves or leakage, if you are not observed before running, after the preservation of some time, definitely it will give a lot of problems with respect to the explosion of the boilers also. Therefore, we have to see the prevention is better than nothing, and that's why very carefully we have to see that before starting, after the preservation of the boiler also, after the preservation time. The carbon monoxide toxicity is always there, because the malfunctioning of the boiler means a boiler attendant is not properly sending air inside the boiler to proper consumption or to proper combustion of the either coal or biomass or the gas or the fuel, whatever may be the fuel of the boiler. It should be combustible completely as per the its calorific value, as per the MSDS. How much the thermal activity is there, how much the calorific value is there, how much the heat is supplied through preheating air through the FD fan. We have to send the same, and always the flue gas observations by sending the lab tests. Any unburned or any uneven things are there in the not only in feed water blow down, but also the flue gas particles also will be giving some direction to taken care of the safety methods of the boilers. That's why the malfunctioning is not supposed to be the perfect first class boiler attendant to see that combustion should be properly happened in the furnace by taking care of the temperature of the flue gases, of the fuel, of the air, everything we have to keep in line by boiler room, all the local pressure and the boiler room's pressure indicators, inkjet indicators and all, inkjet recorders, everything is intact. Even if any doubts in the boiler room having by operator, immediately through walkie-talkie, it will be confirmed through the local operator, local staying operator, what is the pressure of the local pressure, what is the difference between the boiler room pressure gauge. Like this, you have to always communication is there to taking care of the potential hazards. Apart from this, the corrosion, fuel explosion, and carbon monoxide exposure to hazardous substance is also important. I told besides this preservation of boiler, there should not be any uh, materials to be keep it out. And also asbestos, that means the asbestos was to preserve and insulating the material, but exposure to the substance can lead to serious health conditions, including cancer, because the glass wool is there, which is containing some very asbestos materials are there in the during the insulation part because of keeping a long time exposure to the insulation to the sunlight where the outside the cladding like uh, uh, the insulation layer of the aluminum will be getting heated up and then heated up by the inside wire mesh and heated up by the asbestos inside. Thereby, it gives the lot of hazardous substances, fumes or hazardous substances, dusters will be released without knowing the air, which the operators or workforce nearby boiler they breathe, because near the boiler there are some other equipments also there. There the operators also there, and the workforce is also there. Simply there inhaling the water or inhaling the air, it's very difficult, and it leads to the sorry to say, the health conditions is effectively affected, and the including cancer also will be affected. That's why exposure to hazardous substances keeping long time is not advisable, and see that if necessary, we have to see that insulation should be also taken is very important method. But the author, any suggestions is not there mentioned in the anywhere to remove the insulation during the preservation of boilers. But we have to see the experience of the operators, experience of the industrialists, and experience of the industry can take decisions at the time. Other chemicals also, employees who inspect or maintain boilers may expose to hazardous substances because of leaking of the asbestos, glass wool of insulation, such as perchloroethylene, hydrochloric acid, which are common in dry cleaning chemicals, and dangerous goods that create a risk such as fire, explosion, corrosion, and poisoning. Because some other industries they cannot disclose while taking the wet layup or while taking the dry layup. They are using some of the other than the set recommended chemicals. They use immediate dry is to be getting down. That's why they're using the unnecessary, the unrecommended chemicals as per the manufacturer manuals. Thereby, giving lot of problems will be coming. That's why the which are common in dry cleaning chemicals they're using in the boilers also, dangerous goods that create risks such as fire, explosions, corrosion, and poisoning. That's why this point as given by the author, hazardous substances by using the what are the chemicals along with the DM water is also very important for the selective. Only selective here is trisodium phosphate
to create the phosphate layer inside the uh, uh, tube. If the dry up is there, use the silica gel, quicklime, and dry aerolite. All these three. Otherwise, other than this, don't use any chemicals for immediate dry up or immediate what is called cooling or immediate to seal the all the contents. No, not advisable. That's why the exposure to hazardous substance is very important. Safety concerns and malfunctions of safety devices is very important. Due to the human errors, we have to see that any drum levels, steam drum or the mud drum levels, water levels are not maintained. The safety valve function is also not affecting properly. Defective safety valves, defective safety valve will be discussed in the coming slides also. It's one of the part of the these chapters also there. When we discuss it in the uh, parts of the body, defective safety valves can lead to overpressure and potential explosions is there because the safety valve is not function properly. Whenever like a pressure cooker, the lid is whenever the pressure inside is over, safety valve is getting open. The inside the cooker pressure will be released through the lid. Like that, safety valve for the boiler inside the pressure is built up. Immediately, safety valve will be lifted out, and the whatever the extra pressure is there, it will be released, and again it is getting closed. I will show the seam walls, what we call this the figures also in the next classes. It will know because steam pressure is there. It will know the steam temperature walls is also will be shown the next class. Before that, please bear with me to taken care of the all the potential hazards will be taken care of. That is the burns, the presence of the steam and hot metals put workers at high risk of the burns without proper PPE because they are not using the while operating the steam valve, while operating the wheels of the boiler or the valves. They are using not using the cotton gloves. That's where they are experiencing the burns also. So the people are having the human errors because these are comes under the some can be concerned malfunctioning of the safety devices. And the flame failure is also important because the burner is, the flame is not good as expected because of the nozzle jam is there or the either the nozzle jam or by the heating elements of the pipeline of the flame or the fuel. Heating elements is not properly work where the temperature is not maintained. Therefore, inside the tube, oil is getting solidified. Thereby, the nozzle getting jammed. We have to be taken care of that flame failure also. Flame failure can lead to a buildup of fuel and the potential explosion because we are thinking that oil is going on, but the oil is not going through burner because of the solidification, because of the heating elements of the oil pipelines are getting jam or malfunction or anything, human errors are there. Insufficient combustion airs is very important point. As a boiler attendant, first class attendant should combust the fuel perfectly by seeing the analysis of the fuel, analysis of the feed water, analysis of the output steam. You have to see that the analysis of the flue gases, the boiler blow down, and see that the combustion of the fuel is perfectly or not through FD fan. Air is supplied through primary air, secondary air, and tertiary ports. That means there are openings are there, primary, secondary, and tertiary at the various levels in the furnace. That through that air, the proper combustion will be taken care of. Otherwise, causing of carbon monoxide is build-up is more because of the fuel. Either you are having the gas or a natural gas or any other gas or fuel or the coal or the black liquor, always containing the carbon. Where the a fuel is having the carbon content, all the fuels of the boiler, if the unburnt, if the combustion is not properly, the carbon immediately will take the oxygen, convert into the carbon monoxide, and then immediately within no time, again CO is reacts with the coming oxygen and become a CO2. Is not dangerous. It is going along with the flue gas. But the oxygen sufficiency is not there to burn the CO generation. CO accumulation is more. CO is almost cause a buildup. It gives the very poisonous, and the explosion will also be arising. That's why a boiler lacking an adequate air supply can lead to incomplete combustion, causing a buildup of carbon monoxide. Because proper oxygen, RSAT analysis also to be there. RSAT analysis in OR SAT analysis is there, where the flue gases will be collected in the RSAT tube. It will give the proper consumption is also there or not. Immediately they will tell by pulsing the RSAT analysis reading. That's why they have to, at the time they will increase or decrease the air, because in the combustion, air is not more, not less also. Optimum air is to be there to supply or to proper combustion of the fuel of the burner. I'm sorry, fuel of the boiler. Because air is not more, air is not less. Yet optimum air is to be supplied depending upon the design pressure. Improper storage is also one of the potential hazards, because the after the taking all steps to preserve, the proper storage is not there. By covering all the what is called tarpaulins and all, moisture will be taken care of. Inadequate ventilation is also arises. Improper purging is also taken. Purging means the boiler blow down and drip can be taken care of. That's why the moisture means improper storage can lead corrosion on either of the fire or water side. Fire means outside the tube, water means inside the tubes, especially if moisture is not adequately addressed. The moisture is not examined properly inside the tube and outside the tube. It is very difficult to carry out the stopping of the corrosion. Inadequate ventilation is to be there. Once you seal the tubes, but manholes getting opened, but we have to see that proper ventilation is there, though manholes is closed, because outside air is not about to be, dust will be accumulated inside the boilers. Inadequate ventilation, boiler room should be well ventilated. With respect to the boiler, ventilation means here, ventilation means a boiler room, because all the pressure gauges, all the temperature gauges, all the recorders, all the charts of the recorders instruments working on the compressor airs, the compressor air tubes are accumulated with the dust, outside dust. Definitely the malfunctioning of the gauges, malfunctioning of the recorders will be taken care of. That's why the ventilation is proper in the boiler room, and see that the compressor air through the instrumentations going, the instrumentation will be very sensitive. It will be worked on the basis of the compressed air only. You have to see that proper ventilation is there, not to accumulate any dust on the parts of the instruments. Improper purge, improper purge after burner trip can lead to a buildup of fuel, and a potential explosion is there. Because the burner jam is there, you have to take out the burner and see the any before taking out the burner, from the burner tip, some accumulation of the a solid oil which is accumulated in the burner tip, it will be fallen on the furnace. Definitely, it will give some fire, that is called purge. It will be give some a trip of the burner, because sudden increase of temperature, there it leads to the sudden malfunctioning of the temperature gauges and the fuel gas gases, as it feed water gases, it gives the malfunctioning because of sudden increasing of pressure, sudden increasing of temperature, sudden increasing of the disturbance inside the furnace. That's why we have to see that this is a very important areas. Preventive measures, proper storage, because we have to avoid improper storage by storing the proper storage like dry storage. Moisture prevention is very important, and the regular maintenance to be taken care of. The proper storage means dry storage, moisture prevention. Ensure the boiler is thoroughly dried to prevent corrosion. Moisture prevent is they take precautions to prevent moisture from entering the boiler from steam lines and feed lines or air lines through the primary airs and secondary air tertiary airs. We have to see that proper preventive measures to be taken care of to avoid what is called the potential hazards. The regular maintenance is also taken care of. Of course, this is very important to know. Everybody knows regular servicing, inspection, maintenance is very important. Even the preservation of boiler, regular servicing is important. Regular servicing helps detect and prevent leakage and other potential problems. Inspection is also important during the preservation. Inspect the boiler regularly for any signs of damage or corrosion, any pulses to be taken like a stethoscope, like a doctor. You have to take the regular inspections during the preservation of the boiler. Because if you are not taking the regular inspections during the preservation, it will create a lot of problems after resuming the preservation. While keeping running of the boiler, lot of problems will come, even up to the extension of the explosion also will be taken care of. That's why during the preservation, it's very important to take care of the all the safety methods to avoid the potential hazards what we discussed here. Maintenance, ensure all personnel who operate or maintain the boiler room are properly trained on all equipment, controls, safety devices, and up-to-date operating procedures is there. Definitely, we have to see that always the mobile training will be there. Always the all the operators and the boiler crew should be always trained and educated. The potential hazards is also continues this safety procedures. Follow manufacturer instructions. Definitely keep the boiler area clean. Use proper PPE and ensure adequate ventilation. These are the safety procedures you have to maintain to avoid the potential hazards during the preservation of the boilers when not in use. Follow manufacturer instructions. Always follow manufacturer's instructions manual for operating and maintaining boiler, because there is a OPM is there, operating manual is there. Always keep intact with all the workers of the boilers or boiler crew. They should know what to do, when to do, what to do for the emergency occurrence and all these things. And during the preservation of the boilers also, some emergency taken place that will be taken care by the all the boiler crew as per the instructions given in the operating manual of the manufacturers. Keep the boiler clean. Area surrounding the area is very clean. Keep the boiler area clean and free of debris. That means uneven things of the tools, or it should be very tidy, very cleanly, not in a debris manner. Not uneven things will be there. Find out in the floor of the boiler, and we have to see that all floors of the boiler have to be very clean and tidy. And flammable materials will not be allowed to nearby preservation of the boiler. Use proper PPE, no doubt. Use proper personal protective equipment PPE when working with or around the boiler. Working with while running or around the boiler also, immediately steps to be taken when need. That's why use proper PPE when it is operating the wall or anything to be taken care of. Ensure adequate ventilation. I already told, if you are not maintaining the proper ventilation, the dust accumulation or the air accumulation is there. The air accumulation in the boiler room, the dust accumulation is also there. The dust accumulation is there because of instruments working on instrument air, that is a compressed air only. The wires of the instruments, a compressed air going to the instrument for working. If it is getting jammed, the malfunctioning of the all the temperatures or the pressure gauges or the temperature gauges. Therefore, adequate ventilation of the boiler room is very important. So, therefore, the safety precautions, apart from the potential hazards, the safety precautions also to avoid all these potential hazards. The safety precautions, one is draining and drying is very important. Second one is protecting the internal surfaces. It's very important because after the preservation, while keeping running, it's very difficult if you are not protecting the internal surfaces during the preservation of boiler. Ultimately,